Well, as president, I think the first message I'd like to give is that the partnership strategy stems from our minister's vision now for over a decade of planning the future. John Fleury's been the minister for some time now on the file, and I want to commend him for his vision of making sure that some of our, in fact, majority of our strategy is built on establishing partnerships. He saw the opportunity in the sense of knowing that if we have people, and Métis people could traditionally in trades, and we have a vast amount of different skill set our people are involved in. And so he decided it was wise to start creating the private sector side of relationships. So we started some time ago now in creating these partnerships, and they proved to be quite fruitful. At the end of the day, we've been quite successful in creating the jobs targets we set in partnership with Canada. Canada has posed, of course, targets on intervention, but also creating on jobs. And in order to create those jobs, that you can't just go get a trade or a skill or invest money, and we're talking quite large investments at times, to an individual, and then just leave him astray and wondering if he's going to get a job. So what we felt was wiser is to actually create the partnership directly with the private sector and invest into that partnership with the private sector, which would guarantee a job. And so if we put any money, there's on that side of the equal coin of partnerships, the company's got to guarantee full-time employment. So that strategy has been now proving quite fruitful for us as the Métis people in Manitoba. Well, there's many examples of looking at these partnerships. We look at the industry as a whole, and some of the great successes of our operations is that we look at the going trend of the industry. You know, if there's a major need in the trucking industry, then we've shifted ourselves to meet that particular need. If it's in health field, for example, nursing or other particular fields of work in that area, then we shift our agenda and direction towards that. We don't ever abandon other people's dreams. They want to be plumbers or they want to be even lawyers, doctor. We still support them on that view, but we keep with advancing our knowledge of the trend of where the economy is moving itself to, and then shifting ourselves. Like today we had a meeting with Maxim. Maxim is a very large corporation in Canada, and has its headquarters based in Winnipeg. But Maxim also has a lot, I think I applaud their visionary in their company, where they actually have now developed their own internal training and apprentice style training of journeyman ticket to be training our apprentice focus that we have here of getting our people ticketed into that field. And so Maxim actually has built its industry based on that principle of developing their people for the long run and not just a short overnight change in training. So this is and that's a wise decision by a company like that to plan for the decades to come. And so we will be signing an agreement with Maxim as a partner, for example. So, and Maxim has varying seals. There's, of course, Maxim's in the trucking industry, but there's variable sectors of employment that comes from inside there, not just one body shop, for example, mechanical, parts, labor, sandblasting. There's all kind of skill set and trade that's a particular company. So we now have to do is look within our inventory of our Métis people in Manitoba, look who's into that particular career, and then now tie the two together, pre-train, pre-develop, and get them ready for those jobs. And as I said, our success rate has been phenomenal, and I applaud our staff on that and the hard work to do. But more importantly, I applaud our citizens. Our citizens, of course, are quite mobile. Métis people are very mobile, and they're willing to move, if necessary, to where the job is. And so that proves also to be successful based on an entrepreneurial style of the Métis people. So I'm truly looking to seeing each success as they resonate and they flower into a great bouquet. So it is happening as we speak, and these are just, there's partnership after small and medium, but success of the Métis Federation in our partnership has really been small and medium-sized businesses. And because I think they're more compatible to shift with you and to try to meet your needs and meet their needs. When you deal with the much bigger companies like the big oil gas companies, and there's many parameters inside there that sometimes fall through the cracks, and then you end up, in great dialogue without actually accomplishing anything. So in the small and medium size, we've seen they seem to shift with your need. Also, we shift with their need, and it's proven quite very successful. Well, in fact, it's a constant growth. It's a constant growth of partnership. The economies of scale have shown that different variables in different sectors have grown much more faster than others. And we have shifted our skill set training to ensure that we try to meet whatever comparable of industries moving on. And our partnerships have proven success, and I think word gets around, and the Federation's name is very strong in the sense of its productivity and the end of its result, and it's standing alone and as a very I think a trustable government that we have here, and one that the private sector has looked on and its credentials carry itself. So you know, we don't have a problem creating partners. That's one thing for sure. And one thing about Manitoba businesses, they're definitely willing to look at partnership, and I applaud them on that. And so we're very keen on looking at continued growth. But again, there's all kind of variables. There's you know, there's industries that shift and change. Like in Manitoba, there's a big movement right now today in hydro, where dams are being created, bipole lines are being developed, and so we're trying to look at where do we fit into that sector. Now this is where we look at this big machine. And that's where it gets more complicated, because you have the union concept inside of it, and you have industry trying to, they have to make sure they make money. They're not there to do charity at the same time, and of course they're not, and we got to understand that. But at the same time, the proponent or the crown on the other side is trying to get the cheapest deal they can end up getting. So the profit margins are limited, and the relationship of ensuring Aboriginal and Métis people in particular are going to get jobs sometimes then really quantifies the challenge for us. As I said, when you start dealing with the much bigger industry sector sides, it's different. It's a far different, and our staff are well equipped to manage that. But at the same time, they find it more challenging to make sure those jobs are created, because when industry is coming in, and usually the contracts are won by massive, multi-billion-dollar industries, whether it's the Kiewits of the world, or Bechtel now is being stated to win kiosk. So we're understanding those, and these are multi-billion-dollar companies. So they're bringing their own crews when they come in. They're bringing their own infrastructure, and so we got to try to find how do we fit into this whole possibility of employment at the same time, getting a trade or a skill set that we can carry on. One of the things that we've always focused on here is not just getting a job for the sake of getting a job, because that is only a temporary solution. We're looking at a trade where a person can now carry itself for a generation to come. And so it's very vital we look at that. And I'll give you a good example. In our discussions with Hydro, there's certain sections of land that are being cleared for Bipole 3. One that we're discussing negotiation is the transferring of clear cutting for, which is called N4, which is from Depot to Cown, clear cutting for the Bipole 3 line. And so, you know, the contract itself is simplistic in any way. I can hire one of these big companies to come and do it. Well, but really, if you look at it, is Manitoban, is Métis really truly benefiting if I do that? Am I creating jobs if I do that? Because those companies I hire would bring in their own crews. They hire the odds and ends, a couple people here and there. But what would they leave? What would they leave behind is really nothing of true long-term value. Okay, they'll give a short-term contract, short-term jobs to these people for clear cutting. Then the crews will leave again, and they'll take on different tenders in Canada or North America. So from my perspective, I'm saying to myself, if I have that amount of land to clear cut, why don't I have local people doing these jobs? It's much more challenging for me now, because I got to amass, there's not one company in Manitoba that can handle it. So in the Métis world. So now what I got to do is piece pocket all this together. So it'll take me a little bit longer, but I will guarantee one thing: money is going to stay in Manitoba, it's going to be made in Manitoba, and the money is going to circulate back into our economy, into our communities. So that's a harder task. So these big companies don't waste their time on stuff like that, because it's a waste of time to them. It's bottom dollar, get it done, time is the essence, get it out of the way. That's the way they think. I can't think that way. As a leader, I've got to say to myself, well, if there's 70% unemployment in a lot of these communities, I've got to create a job, but I also want to create a trade. I want to create the opportunity of people getting, whether it's their apprentice training, which will lead to their journey ticket. But from that context, I also have to look at the business side. So for example, say I need I have two graders that are essential, but the person needs three in this little small Métis company. Well, if I have the clear cutting contract, I can then offer the person, I'll buy you your third machine, but I'll deduct it during your cost of doing the work. Now I've left that company with a much larger inventory. So now that person can bid for bigger tenders because now he's got more equipment. So we look at it from a bigger context. How does it help our people? How does it help the businesses grow, Métis businesses grow, where they can compete in the bigger markets? Because right now we can't compete in those bigger markets. We just don't have that infrastructure to get there, or the equipment to actually tender, or the bonding to tender at that level. So we got to take a look at all those variables when we do our business. So it's not just a simple process, because it's easy to hire a company that you can do it tomorrow morning and get it clear cut. But what did I leave behind for the Métis people or Métis community? Nothing. So if I did, it was so small, it's insignificant, that has no real long-term impact. When we pursue the educational field of looking at investing to our citizens that want to pursue whatever career they want to pursue, if you look at universities, you're looking more from the professional, and you look at college, you're looking at the trade side, kind of mentality. I'll use those two simple formulas. And when you look at it from that context, we got to have a different approach when we deal with colleges and a different approach when we deal with the universities. But the challenge at the end that we face is that you look at these institutions. We too have the Lurel institution in the MMF. It's a legislated institution, and in the future it's trying to develop itself of actually buying and developing and delivering curriculum. Like, for example, in the nursing fields, and and getting more LPNs and potentially trained and hired into our health institutions. So when we're looking at the educational institutions, we're looking at the two variables in how we invest, and so we're investing in a different contextual way. For example, in universities now, we create our own endowment funds. We're at 14 million and growing. Every year, if things continue as they go, next year's another million, a year after another million, keep on going. We're already seeing the return benefit starting to pay back. We're seeing a lot of our people now attaining and gaining some of these endowment funds, which help their high cost of university. Now we're signing one with the colleges. Colleges are actually never approached this kind of direction, but they've been seeing what we're doing and investing in long-term endowment funds. So we're looking at signing a more recent one. We'll be coming up with Red River College. And so colleges now are saying, well, why don't we create our own endowment funds, as the university have done. So colleges are also changing their planning stages, which again, for us, the investment of endowment funds are longevity forever and perpetuity. They're there forever, which then we know that generation after generation can apply for it. But again, it's only a portion. There's such a large population of Métis people of 100,000 a year. So we've got to look at all the other variables that come in there and the needs. So I think it's got to be essential. We got to also push the curriculum-driven processes that will be more beneficial to our people. Right now, we're still behind in that concept, and we're pushing that on the agenda in our discussion negotiation. But I think there is a clear understanding from the education institutions that we're a very good partner to partner with, and they see that, and our population is proving that, and they're in their colleges, and they're in their universities, and we have quite a substantial amount invested in there, and we're seeing the great return by our own people. We're actually taking advantage of these opportunities and getting it done, and then pursuing their careers. We define success not just on getting a job. That you can actually do with many of the private sector partnerships we have. We can definitely, applaud ourselves and pat ourselves on the back. We created jobs. But where we find success and where we claim success is when we know that the individual that we've invested in, and the individual now is now created full-time employment, long-term employment, and can actually now take care of their family. And because where we see the success in that is that once that family, that individual is now fully trained and has a full-time, long-term longevity in the employment trade that we've partnered with them on for, then it changes the very sector of their children, their next generation coming after them. So that's very vital. People don't see the long-term in that, and you need to see the long-term. Because now the Metis family, ends up buying a house and purchasing their own asset arrangements for the future, and now that asset's going to help their children in the future when they want to buy a house as a tool for advancing themselves and getting some stability as a family. So we don't just judge our success by just getting a job, because we judge it by the longevity of ensuring that we have a stable family. We're part of the contribution towards the challenges our country faces in Canada, in our province of Manitoba, but we truly have now created a model, a brand, and the Federation brand is very essential to us, and it's our government, it's the Metis government, and people look up to that name, and it's very important that we keep that name brand properly intact. So our vision is that when we keep on advancing this partnership relationship, our success will continue to prove over and over again that we've now created strong stability with a family. And that is going to change the very impact for the next generation to come. So you can't see success of 1 year, 2 years. I'm seeing success decades ahead now. So I'm seeing that now I've got this person, whether they've now in a body shop of Maxim, for example, if we got a long-term, now they're set for the next 10, 20 years in that job. But I know in the next 10, 20 years, this Métis citizen is going to take care of his family and make sure his children are going to have a better chance at the future in pursuing an education, because their parents are now working, the ability to support their children to go to college or university. In the event the Federation doesn't have the resources in the future, that family will continue to carry on. So somehow, no matter what happens, stability has been created for the family. That's success.